Hello and welcome to this new tutorial. In this tutorial, we shall discuss about the dimensions of power in international relations. In the last tutorial, we discussed about the concept of power in international relations and the basic aspects of that. Power is a central in international relations, and whichever state has any element of power or any actor which controls any element of power will always calls the shot. So therefore, let us now understand what are the dimensions of these powers. So you have 5 different dimensions of power. First, we'll discuss about military power. Well, military power is basically the capacity and the capability of a state to use force or the threat of force to achieve its objective. Further, it is also very important to understand that it is the size and strength of the armed forces, advanced weaponry, technological superiority, and strategic positioning is important if you need to achieve national objective by using your military power. So in military power, it is always a capability of the state, how state will use its power, or they will threaten the enemies or a neighbor of use of the force to achieve its objective. And therefore we have often seen that when we talk about military power, we are basically talking about the size of that military power. We are basically talking about the strength of that armed forces, the advancement in weaponry system which that country has, or the technological superiority it has, and also what are the strategic positioning of that military power. And once we understand this part of the dimension, it is very obvious to understand that all the countries, all the nation states, whoever has the most advanced, powerful military will always going to have the advantage to achieve their national interest. And therefore, in international relations, if you command military power, then you are a powerful country in the world. And we have many such examples. Great powers of the world has the big military powers, not just in the sense of their size, but also in the sense of how advanced they are, how advanced technology they have been using, and how they are strategically positioning their forces and maneuvering them in the time of the conflict. So therefore, military power is the most important dimensions in realistic international relations. Second is economic power. So in economic power, it is the ability of the state to influence others through economic means, including trade, investment, and financial resources. The important component in economic powers are your GDP, trade volumes, foreign reserves, economic aid, and sanctions. So country which is aspiring to become a great power, and obviously apart from military power, country also going to look at its own economic power. And therefore the economic power is your ability of a state to influence others. And how do you influence others? You influence others through your trade, through your investment, and the kind of financial resources which you are commanding. And therefore the important component in the economic power is size of your GDP, how big economy you are, how much of trade volume do you have with various countries, what is your foreign reserves. Foreign reserves plays a very important role for any GDP, for any country in fact, right? What are your economic aid, because you can also play out your power through providing those economic aid and sometime sanctioning and sometime putting those sanctions on those countries which fails to uphold certain principles and values in international politics. So therefore economic power is another very important asset or a dimension of a power in international relations. And therefore, again giving the same example, the great power of the world today also are a big economic power. Third very important dimensions of power is soft power. Now the soft power is the ability to shape the preferences and influence the behavior of other through appeal and attraction rather than coercion. The important components are cultural influence, diplomatic efforts, political values, and foreign policy legitimacy. So soft power in other way is a different dimensions of power. Soft power doesn't fall under the concept of hard power where military power is being used, or sometimes when economic power is being used to influence the behavior of other state. Rather, here the soft power ability is basically to influence the behavior of the other country through various other means like appeal and through attraction. And therefore, what are the component countries are using? Countries are basically using the cultural influence to get the idea across the international politics. They use diplomatic efforts, they uphold political values, and obviously through foreign policy legitimacy, right? And we have classic examples of countries which have been using soft power very effectively time and again, even when they already possess military power. For example, United States of America. United States of America was one kind of a country who have used its soft power very effectively through its culture, through its music, Hollywood, sports, you name it, and they have it. Similarly, we have seen how South Korea has been using their culture. Example, today we talk about something called K-pop. So K-pop has become the phenomena of a cultural aspects of South Korean soft power. Similarly, India also have used its soft power through our culture, through our music, through our cuisine, through our Bollywood music, right? And many other countries are also using their soft power to have and to influence the behavior of others. So therefore, soft power is also a very important dimension of power in international relations. Next we have is hard power. So obviously the hard power means the use of coercion and payment to achieve desired outcome. In this, the major component are your military force and economic incentives or sometimes punishment. So we have seen how countries have been using their hard power as a very important dimensions. And how do they use this hard power? By using the military force, or if not military force, then economic incentives, because these both way complement each other to achieve your national interest. And we have a great powers again around us who have effectively been using their military power as well as economic incentives to achieve their national interest. And therefore hard power is all about the use of coercion and payment to achieve that desired outcome, and for that use of military force and your economic incentives plays a very important role. And the last very important component or dimensions of power in international relations is smart power, the strategic combination of hard power and soft power to achieve foreign policy agenda. Therefore, the strategic component in the hard power are integrating military force with diplomacy, economic assistance, and cultural influence. And the classic example here of a country which today been known to use the smart power is China. Look at how Chinese have been using both the military force as well as its economic assistance to influence the other countries. And the classic example of this smart power is Chinese BRI, right? The kind of loan which Chinese are giving them systematically, knowing the fact that the country will never going to pay them back. Yet Chinese are going forward wherever need arise and influencing the country's behavior. Similarly, in the neighborhood of immediate China, Chinese are using their military force. Example, the way they have used it against Taiwan or also against India in Eastern Ladakh. So smart power is basically how you strategically combine your hard power and soft power to achieve your specific foreign policy agenda. And therefore, these are the 5 very important dimensions of power in international relations, in which every country are making the best use of it depending upon what kind of a power they possess. So this is all about the dimensions of power in international relations. and I hope you have understood this concept as well, and I will see you soon in the next tutorial. Till then, take care.